I think a lot of things that people don't know is that we definitely earned the right to be here, because it wasn't walking on the sun. I mean, that's the reason why we sold a lot of records. That's the reason why we're here in a lot of ways. But nobody saw behind the doors how hard we worked, and that's why we've made a lot of enemies, especially in our hometown with other bands and musicians and struggling musicians, because they felt like we just came out of nowhere and just, and had a free ticket through radio. They don't understand all the, all the, push play, all the work that we did, to get to that point. I mean, we basically sat in the studio our work ethic, it was pretty heavy.
Let me ask you a simple question. Millennials and Gen Z, what defined your childhood? Was it the shows you watched on TV, the game consoles you owned and the games you played, the snacks you wanted so badly that your parents only got you every once in a while? There's a lot of things that make your childhood special, but without a doubt, one of the most important aspects is music. Music, like any form of entertainment, whether that be movies, video games, television, novels, and more, evolve as the times change from generation to generation. What was once super offensive is now commonplace everywhere you look, like violence in movies and games. And on the contrary, what was completely fine for social norms at the time is now looked upon in a meaner light as the times change. This goes for any form of media, and music is no stranger to that. What was once the hottest bands and artists from your parents' generation get replaced with new stars that take the spotlight, and then they get taken by new stars, and so on and so on. This is nothing new. There's always a need for fresh new blood in the music industry. It happens damn near every single year. But there are select few artists and bands that truly have stuck with entire generations, mainly with millennials and Gen Z. And one of those bands is without a doubt in my mind, Smash Mouth. Whether you like them ironically or not, Smash Mouth is one of those pop culture icons that defined the late 90s and early aughts for so many people, including yours truly. But as the years have gone by, more and more people just see Smash Mouth as a meme more than a band, and due to recent events, it seems like Smash Mouth is at a breaking point. But what led Smash Mouth to take the stage with their careers? Well, before that, I think it's necessary to track through the entire history of Smash Mouth and see how they came into the spotlight and how the spotlight has changed over the decades. That turned this band from a popular staple of its time for millennials to now be one of the most consistently memeable icons of meme culture. I'm CBM Productions, and this is the rise and fall of Smash Mouth.
That I already knew as just a friend at the bar at Boswell's.
We never met at a bar.
And
I don't even go to bars.
Where's
the church?
Yeah, it's church.
Sorry about that.
It's church.
Now, before we get into the band itself, we must look first at the members that would end up forming Smash Mouth. Steve Scott Harwell was born on January 9, 1967 in Santa Carla, California, the home of the Vampires.
One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
But would eventually move to Saratoga to attend Prospect High School, and then eventually San Jose. Not much is known about his personal life, as he himself hasn't told a lot of it in interviews, apart from the fact that his zodiac sign is Capricorn and that the guy's net worth is $5 million apparently. But what we do know about him is that he grew up listening to Elvis albums on repeat, and that inspired him to become a musician. His first break in the music industry would be as a rapper for the group FOS, standing for freedom of speech, in the early 90s.
Time to party, time to get loose, sipping on a bottle of Tanqueray juice, and that ain't enough, I ain't tripping. I got a 40 to back if I'm slipping.
Greg Camp, also known as Colin Sick, was born April 2nd, 1967 in West Covina, California, before moving to San Jose to attend Lynbrook High School. Before forming Smash Mouth, Camp had been on the music scene for quite a while. Throughout the 80s, he had been a part of several bands during the California rock scene, including the Gents, and then later on, the Maids of Honor, the Selectrics, among others, primarily performing as a lead guitarist, and sometimes being the lead songwriter and the backing vocalist. Kevin Coleman, also known as Kevin John Aiello, was born on October 21st, 1965 in San Jose, California. Similar to Harwell, Coleman doesn't have a whole lot of info or even footage about him circulating around the internet, apart from the fact that he is a drummer and would be one of the founding members of Smash Mouth after meeting Camp and bassist Paul Delisle while playing on the same band Like a Daddy together, which was managed by Robert Hayes. More on him later. Then there's Paul Delisle, who I just briefly mentioned. He was born on June 13, 1963 in Exeter, Ontario, Canada. He moved to California and eventually would run into Camp and Coleman, playing in the band Lackadaddy together, and would be the head bassist, and to this day is the longest running member of Smash Mouth and the only OG member that hasn't left yet. These four would cross paths in 1994 via Robert Hayes, knowing all four of them, from managing Coleman, Camp, and Delilah's band Lackadaddy, and also managing FOS, that Hart was getting fatigued with, and managing to get all of them on the same page about forming a rock band together. So they started rehearsing together and found a suitable name for them, Smash Mouth, which is actually known as an offense term in hand egg. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean American football. The first couple years were quite idle for the band, until they had a couple of their demo songs play on the local radio stations, and that gained the attention of Interscope Records, who signed them on to make their debut album, which would be Fushun Ming, released in July 1997. The title being reference to a line Al Pacino said in Brian De Palma's Scarface. And that won't be the last time that the band referenced Pacino in the album.
I'm a man of respect, and I prefer to be addressed as Padrino. Padrino!
Almost slightly changing their name from Smash Mouth, which was just one word, to Smash Mouth. 2 words now. I know, very important detail. Along with adding Michael Klooster to the band for keyboard and back vocals as well. Anyways, when the album released, it went double platinum, mainly through a couple of the songs being huge hits for the band, primarily their version of Walking on the Sun, which was a departure from the usual pop and ska rock of the rest of the album, as this song was more retro soul rock than anything. It would reach number 1 on the US Billboard Modern Rock Tracks, and number 2 in the Hot 100 airplay charts, not to mention hitting the top 10 of several other countries like Italy, Spain, Australia, and more. Along with being the first single that the band released, a couple weeks after Fushun Ming came out. Another hit for the band was their cover on War's classic song, Why Can't We Be Friends, with their version being more rock heavy, and would be released as a single in April 1998. Around this time, Smash Mouth became more of a recognizable band to the masses, with several of their songs ending up in major films, such as An American Werewolf in Paris, Half Baked, Wild Things, and Basketball. But this would only be just the beginning.
How did San Jose shun you guys? I mean, what was the main, they just wouldn't give you press, or?
We're the most liked and most hated band in San Jose.
A couple years after Fushun Ming's release, the band's second album, Astro Lounge, would be released only a couple years later in June 1999. This would without a doubt be the most popular album by the band before or since, containing the majority of the band's most well-known songs. With the band delving heavily into the pop art direction than ever before, it made the band more mainstream, hence several of the songs on the album being released as singles later on, such as Can't Get Enough of You Baby, When the Morning Comes, Waste, and of course, the Mac Daddy of them all, All Star, which was meant to tie into the 1999 Ben Stiller comedy Mystery Men, which many people overlook, despite directly opens up with a scene from the film in the now infamous music video that's garnered over 373 million views and counting on YouTube. Regardless, the album prompted the band into the public eye, as they started doing huge tours across the country, as many of their songs would end up in several commercials, shows, and movies, from Inspector Gadget, Snow Day, Deuce Bigelow, Big Fat Liar, Me, Myself, and Irene, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version, Dude, Where's My Car, Friends, Smallville, Kim Possible, The Simpsons, and so much more over the course of the early aughts. And despite Astro Lounge was well reviewed, entering many huge charts, and going triple platinum, it won't compare to the Green Ogre that would define Smash Mouth for an entire generation.
Push record. Okay. Ready? Yeah. Quit doing drugs and smoking so much weed. That's why you're doing all these mashups. I'm fucking with you right now.
2001 was a very interesting year for the band. On the positive side, the band would release their third studio album in November, simply titled Smash Mouth, which was titled as a result of the band letting their fans on their website vote in fall 2000 what the name of their third album should be, and the self-titled one. Again, super important detail here. But it wouldn't nearly be as successful as the previous 2 albums, but would eventually become certified gold. The standout hit of the album yet again would be another cover of a classic song from decades earlier by the Monkees, which would be I'm a Believer, meant to directly tie into the 2001 bonafide classic, I think I can say at this point, Shrek. The first fully CGI animated film by DreamWorks. Oh wait, that was Ants.
Call me crazy, but I have a thing about drinking from the anus of another creature.
Yeah, and ever since we were little, I've been listening to you complain. What are you bitching about?
The first successful CG animated film by DreamWorks that will launch the animation side of this company and these characters into the stratosphere, and Smash will be in that group as well, due to not only their direct tie-in with I'm a Believer, but from All Star as well, being even more of a staple in the film and pop culture to so many more people, to the point where more people know it as a Shrek song than the actual name. I certainly did for the longest time, and it's still chugging along to this day, both from ironic fans and people that legitimately enjoy the song. I mean, these Spotify numbers don't lie. Not to mention they appeared themselves in the third act of the comedy Rat Race later that year, flat out proving at this point that they were a staple in pop culture. But 2001 would see a lot of change for the band. Firstly, their self-titled album would be the first album without Kevin Coleman as their drummer. Due to him leaving back in 1999, when the band was ready to tour Astro Lounge, he left due to back problems, causing the band to get a replacement drummer in Michael Urbano. Not to mention that personal tragedy struck for Steve Harwell in July that year, with his only 6-month-old son, Presley Scott Harwell, sadly passed away from acute lymphocytic leukemia, causing immediate shows to be cancelled and their third album to be delayed by a few months. Then a couple years later in August 2003, the band's fourth album, Get the Picture, was released, and it definitely was the band's lowest performing album to date, not getting any certification status, although not being as well reviewed as their band's previous works. Nor were any of their songs huge hits, at least on the level of some of their songs in their previous albums, despite one of them being written by Neil Diamond himself. But one of their songs, Hang On, will be used in a couple major films such as the live-action Cat in the Hat film with Mike Myers,
Dirty hoe! I'm sorry, baby, I love you.
Later on in the first live-action Diver Won't Be Kid movie, causing Smash Mouth to lose more of its original ska and punk rock feel, and was being looked at as more of a kiddie band than anything else. The band will also release a best of compilation a couple years later titled All-Star Smash Hits, but it wasn't a huge hit either. This would be the last album that Smash Mouth would work with Interscope Records before the label dropped them completely.
Once in a great while, some of the guys come to me and say, hey, I got a special friend I just met. I let them go back to the back lounge, and we won't talk about that. That's where all the magic happens. Now we just do prayer back there, read the book of God. Sean reads the Quran.
I try.
Then the band turned towards Universal Records as their next label to continue their work, first releasing a Christmas album in December 2005, The Gift of Rock, consisting mostly of covers of classic Christmas songs, as covers for this band were bread and butter. At the same time, the band was working on their fifth studio album originally titled Old Habits. The album was originally slated for a fall 2005 release, but was delayed many times, due to the band wanting to gain publicity due to Steve Harwell's planned appearance on the reality show The Surreal Life on VH1, which focused on documenting a handful of celebrities living together in a mansion for a couple of weeks. But that didn't fully pan out for the band, as they delayed the record some more to scrap some of the album and work on some new songs.
What are your memories from that experience?
It was horrible.
Okay.
And I should have never done it, and I regretted it. But I think for the most part, the producers of the show kind of thought I was still the crazy partier Steve, and that's what they really want to get out of you. They want you to make a fool of yourself, basically, and they want to, showcase it. And I wouldn't do it. And it really pissed off the producers. And they were basically going to, kick me off the show. But they couldn't, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to make a fool of myself on national TV, so.
Although having to get a new drummer again, as Michael Urbano left in early 2006 due to creative differences, and this would start an ever-changing lineup for the band. But the album would finally be released, forming it into Summer Girl, their fifth album that would release in September 2006, with the only notable song that most would recognize today would be Everyday Superhero, which for some reason isn't on Spotify. Get on that, please. That would play most notably both in The Pacifier, which I reviewed by the way, shameless plug, and Zoom, and to me, would be the last song by the band that would have any impact or lasting memory for my generation. Summer Girl was once again not a huge hit financially or critically for the band. Over the coming years, the band would constantly change lead guitarists and drummers, as Greg Kent first left the band in 2008, but would constantly keep coming back and then leaving again. And the same cycle happened with Michael Urbano, and the revolving door of drummers as well, with only Harwell and Delisle sticking around consistently.
I'm not sure how we got here, but let's party!
Going into the 2010s, it started out pretty good for the band. Primarily Steve Harwell, as seen as twin Guy Fieri, hosted a charity event in June 2011, where it spawned from a simple bet of $20 from a writer on the comedy website Something Awful, betting that Harwell could eat 24 eggs. Harwell said he would take on the challenge if the bet would be raised to $10 grand, and all the proceeds would go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. The fundraising eventually reached that goal, and Harwell did meet up with Fieri, who made the eggs himself, and hosted the event in Johnny Garlic's restaurant in Dublin, California. Despite Harwell didn't eat all 24 eggs, he only ate 3 and left the rest of the eating to his fans. The event did reach over 15 grand in proceeds to charity, so although it may not be a huge photo in the history of Smash Mouth, it's definitely a notable one, and it should be acknowledged whenever people are doing really good things out of their hearts.
Okay, you guys ready for this? Yeah! Now this is for the kids, we know that. Yeah. So give it up for St. Jude's Hospital.
After the release of Summer Girl, Smash Mouth decided to part ways with their label, mostly due to the 2008 Universal Studio fire, where hundreds of artists from music to TV to film lost their work in a fire due to a worker on set using a blowtorch to warm asphalt shingles on the backlot of Universal Studios Hollywood, and the band ending up signing with 429 Records, where they will release their 6th studio album in Magic, released in September 2012. It once again wasn't a huge hit and its reviews were pretty average, consisting of mostly the same types of songs and rhythms that were used to sing from this band, and will perform this album for the remainder of the year.
Kill your whole family, I swear to God. You're talking this stuff about my dick, I never leave the house. Quiet now, I'm the singer.
Now these last 7 or so years for the band is where things really started to get strange, to say the least. Firstly, in 2014, the band made a couple of exclusive songs for the English dub of a South Korean animated film, Pororo: The Racing Adventure. Once again going back to the tried and true formula of Smash Mouth trying to define a new generation of kids, but now trying to go international this time around, I guess. Although it's commendable, it did make a huge impact. I even bet most of you who are watching this probably didn't even know that Smash Mouth made songs for a South Korean film. I wouldn't blame you. Then after that, the cracks in the band members really started to come to the surface, primarily in Steve Harwell. Starting from 2015 at the earliest in Fort Collins, Colorado, for how far back I can trace it, where the band would obviously get wasted before heading onto stage, and would just go wild and do whatever they felt like doing, slurring their words, bubbling around the stage directionless, and more. The most shocking thing to me is that this wasn't a new thing for the band. You can find interviews as back as 1999, where Steve Harwell would discuss the band getting drunk to get through shows and such.
I've contemplated quitting. I mean, I really have. Back when the band wasn't, you know, when we weren't getting along as much because of, we just weren't into playing because everything was, you know, we weren't up to the speed that I wanted it to be. And I think, you know, I think everybody else knew it, and we were all like, just trying to, you know, drink through it or something. I mean, we were at the point last year where we were basically drinking to just get through shows, and it's like, it's so nice to have that change where we actually go out there and we're like sober and we're really having a good time and getting along great. We're getting along better than ever.
Throw something at me. If you're man, you throw something at me. If you're man enough to throw something at me right now, I'm gonna walk out there and beat the fucking shit out of you.
But most likely due to the fact that these people have had to sing the same songs they released 20 years ago, and they haven't done anything as huge as Astro Lounge since, I could understand them just simply not giving a shit anymore. Plus, we're in the days where it's so much easier to record moments right on the spot, due to how advanced technology has become. We're far from the days of playing Snake on your Nokia. Now you can use your phone as a credit card, social media platform, or just recording dudes doing dumb shit. I mean, that's what TikTok and Twitter are for, right? But as the years went by, the band and especially Steve Harwell seemed to get more angrier and more aggressive at concerts. Now I know even our favorite artists at the peak of their careers can sometimes act out on stage due to frustration, but more and more of these videos of Harwell just going on drunk rants as someone is throwing bread at him during a concert, while the rest of the band is desperately trying to keep the energy of the show alive, is a sign that the band has seen better days. Not to say it was all bad, the band did release an acoustic version of their first album Fush You Mang in 2018 for its 20th anniversary, or should I say 21st anniversary. At least I can drink now. Please don't. But it seemed like things were steady for Smash Mouth for a while. That is until our pal COVID decided to show up and ruin the party for everyone. After the initial outbreak of the pandemic in early 2020, virtually all places around the globe shut down for a few months to try and contain the virus. But as places started to open up again around the summer later that year, in August, Smash Mouth performed at the Sturgis Rally, an annual motorcycle rally held in South Dakota. While performing there, from the footage shown, virtually nobody was wearing masks and nobody even cared. Even to the point where Harwell said fuck this COVID shit to the huge maskless crowd. This event obviously didn't help contain the virus, as it ended up being a super spreader event, and most likely causing some deaths out of it, beyond thousands getting a platinum trophy for being fucking stupid and catching COVID. But this wouldn't be the last time the band publicly embarrassed themselves. As most of you probably know, only a couple months back at the time of recording this, in October 2021, Smash Mouth was playing at the Big Sip, a local beer and wine festival in Bethel, New York. While there, a woman filmed the craziest moments of the entire concert and compiled them together for a TikTok, where it's obvious once again that Harwell and his bandmates as well are completely wasted and just doing whatever they want, such as allowing people on stage, slurring their lyrics, threatening random people on stage, and doing weird body gestures that made people believe that Harwell was doing a Nazi salute. Which had been the first time that he's done this in concerts. I'm not trying to defend Smash Mouth's obvious unprofessionalism here, but I don't believe Harwell's a neo-Nazi or anything. I just believe it's a stupid set of bad circumstances. Anyways, after this event, the TikTok went viral and spread across many news sites and YouTubers covering the event and gave Smash Mouth quite a bad rep. Immediately following the the event, Steve Harwell announced his retirement from the band, saying he needed to focus on his mental health issues. This was understandable to many people, as it was obvious to anyone keeping track that things for the band were spiraling over the past few years. And it was revealed that in 2013, Harwell was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, which is a heart disease that can cause an irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath, cardiac arrest, among other symptoms, along with heart failure, and was also diagnosed with Wernicke encephalopathy, a neurological disease that is usually associated with chronic alcoholism. It can cause impaired speech, memory, and motor functions, which does match up with Harwell's behavior over the past few years. But now with Harwell's exit, the main face of the band for over 25 years will now no longer lead and be associated with Smash Mouth, and in his absence, Paul Delisle has taken over the lead vocals and will lead the band into an uncertain future. And that, ladies and gents, is the rise and fall of Smash Mouth. Now before we go, I want to say a few words before we wrap this whole thing up. Whether you like Smash Mouth or not, or you just like them for the memes, the band is definitely a staple of our childhoods from my generation, and many people older than me that do legitimately enjoy their music. I, for one, do enjoy a lot of their music, from their first couple albums specifically, more than just All Star and Walking on the Sun. Songs like Waste, that nobody talks about, is the best darker song by Smash Mouth in my opinion, and is one of my favorite songs by them, along with Padrino, Home, Flow, Everyday Superhero, Satellite, Fallen Horses, Defeat You, Roadman, Stoned, and quite a bit more. This band has given me a whole lot of good memories, both past and present. Although they probably hate having to play the same songs over and over again, they will forever be immortalized by the meme culture that made them a household name in the culture where most memes age like milk. Smash Mouth and Shrek are the one in that kitchen. Due to the Shrek memes over the past decade or more, being in their manifestation of the popularity of All Star and Shrek from the early aughts, and made them recognizable. No matter what fan of music or memes you're a part of, beyond Shrek, I do think it's an interesting journey that they've been a part of. I do sincerely hope that the band does find recovery after these most recent rocky years. And the same with Steve Harwell. With all that he's been through, especially having to bury his only son at such a young age, which I didn't even know until researching for this video, it's understandable that that incident alone can drive someone down a dark path. Although he hasn't been doing the best in these past few years, the fact that he spent an extra 20 years being with his band and all the successes and failures that came along with it, I applaud him with sticking through it to the end. I do hope in the swiftest of recoveries. And what will Smash Mouth turn into now, with the whole new path they're going on? Will they try to go back to the style that made them popular in the first place? Or try to appeal to the ironic meme culture and keep playing the same hits that made them a staple? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But anyways, I hope all of you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more videos like this and prove that you're the sharpest tool in the shed, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content. I'm CB Productions, and I'll see you in the next video.